Journalist Chauncey Bailey was shot and killed while walking to his job at the Oakland Post in 2007. Bailey's life and the story of his murder are the subject of the film A Day Late in Oakland, which airs next Friday, August 6 at 8:30 p.m. immediately following our program as part of KQED's Truly California series. Joining me now is the filmmaker Zachary Stauffer and Thomas Peele, journalists with the Chauncey Bailey Project. First of all, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Let's start, Thomas, with you. The investigation into Chauncey Bailey's murder has been journalist-driven. So where is the story now?
Well, the story now, Belva, is Monday is the 3rd anniversary of Chauncey's murder, and we're really nowhere toward seeing a trial in the immediate future of Yusef Bey IV and his co-defendant, Antoine Mackey, in Chauncey's murder. There is a very chilling plot that is unraveling in Oakland, where Bey IV gave orders from jail, allegedly passed on through his now former criminal attorney, to a follower who was arrested. Authorities took very seriously a plot to kill 2 witnesses in the murder case. And while there hasn't been any direct charges on that plot yet, it has peripherally gone before 2 judges who have both admonished the attorney and spoke of a potentially grave situation still unraveling in this case.
So after 3 years, we don't know whether witnesses will really come forward. Is that right?
Prosecutors have made assurances that these witnesses are safe. Yusef Bey IV has had most of his jail privileges revoked. The fellow who was charged with carrying out these 2 murders, who in a very chilling jail phone call with Yusef Bey IV called himself the #1 soldier and said he would do anything for Bey IV as his spiritual leader, is in prison on a parole violation, and he is expected to be charged in this matter.
Okay. So Zachary Stauffer, you've completed a film about Chauncey and his relationship with Oakland, the city he loved. You decided to complete this film before anybody was even charged. Why'd you do that?
Part of it was very practical. This film was my master's thesis at UC Berkeley's Graduate School of Journalism. I completed the program in 2008. My second year, and when I began production, began in the fall of 2007, late August 2007, just a few weeks after Chauncey was killed. I knew I had to deliver something in June. I had no idea where the trial was going to be at that point. So just went ahead with the story anyway. And a lot of what I really worked hard on was zeroing in on the concept. What specific story am I going to tell? Because obviously, with any aspect of journalism and documentary too, you can choose a specific portion of a story. If you're going to do a story on the environment, that's just a big topic, right? So you'd pick one aspect of it. Here we had a murder, a particular set of characters. You could do the investigation, you could make it about who did it. I chose to leave that aspect up to the newspapers and go for how did this murder happen in the first place? How did these 2 paths cross?
Did you need the cooperation of the police department or anybody else to make this film?
You need cooperation of some people. I think who you get cooperation from helps determine the film that you're going to make. Like I said, I wasn't trying to crack the case wide open. Tom and his colleagues were doing an excellent job with that in their coverage. So I worked with family members, people who knew Chauncey, people who knew Yusef Bey, and could kind of comment on what these 2 guys were like, what they wanted for Oakland, what they wanted for society in general, and obviously things went a little haywire.
Right. Well, we have a short clip from your film, and there's still things that are shocking, even though you made the film a while back. So let's look at that.
Chauncey Bailey covered one of the toughest parts of town for the Oakland Tribune, East Oakland, where resources and opportunity are often scarce. But he was a fierce advocate as much as a reporter, so the Tribune wasn't his only venue. Bailey frequently fed stories to the Bay Area's black press.
When you've got 50% of all the black public school students, for example, in this country, enrolled in 12 school districts out of 15,000 districts total. You're looking at the future underclass in this country.
Chauncey felt that the opportunities to tell a positive black story were so few and far between in the mainstream press. And where he had to cover the homicides and the council meetings, Chauncey would seek out businesses and organizations that were doing positive things that no one in mainstream media would have ever paid attention to.
Tom, do you think he knew that he was in such dangerous territory when he started to pursue this story?
He was told by a man who has come forward and said that he was Chauncey's source for this story, a spiritually adopted son of Yusuf Bey, that he needed to watch himself, that these guys were killers. People who were close to the organization understood the depravity that was going on under Yusuf Bey IV in the summer of 2007. Chauncey may have not put the pieces together to realize that there were two murders that police were investigating in July of that year that were very physically close to the bakery, and now we know carried out. In one instance, Devondre Broussard, who killed Chauncey, has admitted to it, and Antoine Mackey, one of Yusuf Bey IV's followers, is charged with the other. So that was going on. But Chauncey may not have known or really suspected, of course, that he was walking to work that morning and he was going to get shot dead at 14th and Alice Street.
So we have Yusuf Bey, we have Yusuf Bey IV. One is being held in jail, the other is passed on already.
Right.
But the danger still seems to be in the air around this case. So, Zachary, how safe did you feel in pursuing this film?
At the time, I think I was operating under the assumption that the bad guys were in jail, so I wouldn't have any problems per se. While I was under production, never really felt anything specific other than one day when shooting in Oakland, my tires got slashed. Just I think by some neighborhood thugs who didn't like the fact that I was hanging out with a camera. But now seeing the developments in a plot to kill witnesses, maybe I should have been more conscious of that, but maybe ignorance is bliss.
Well, both of you, what have we learned from this experience up to now? Are we a better city, society, community from knowing that this kind of thing went on and the city and government and so on seem to not have realized just
Belva, I
what
think
was
when
happening?
you look at the bakery now and its legacy and all that has come out since Chauncey's murder, when we now have a fuller understanding of the child rape, essentially you can call it slave labor that went on within the bakery, the fact that the elder Yusuf Bey was defrauding the public of thousands of dollars a month in social assistance to his followers. There's almost now other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how did you like the play aspect?
Well, you'll be able to learn more about this next week when the film is shown. So my thanks to both of you for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much.